Hi. Hello, and welcome to today's LEPSL 500 Discussion Board MVP interview. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Here to host today's interview is the LEPSL Academic Director, Dr. Erik Fritsvold.
Well, welcome everybody. Maddie, thank you for the kind introduction as always, and all the infrastructure work that you put on behind the scenes to make these events a success. Folks, thanks for joining us. This promises to be an invigorating and informative discussion. As noted, I serve as the Academic Director and founding faculty of our 100% online Master of Science degree in Law Enforcement and Public Safety Leadership. You'll be getting to learn about that and one of our absolute rock star students here throughout this conversation. We'll refer to the program colloquially as LEPSL throughout our conversation. And we're coming together to celebrate one of the single most important recognitions in our entire program. And that's because it's truly peer-driven. Probably the most important part of our program are these interactive discussion boards. Students come together and share experiences and best practices and challenges and opportunities. That's what we're going to be talking about today. And among our 200 students, everybody casts a vote for who should be recognized as our MVP of that particular class. And out of 200, we get to meet that winner here momentarily. Again, from our LEPSL 500 Contemporary Issues course that kicked off the spring 2024 semester. So again, one of the most prestigious recognitions, and I can't help but note, this student earned this in his very first class in the program, which is pretty remarkable. We're going to get into that as well. So without further delay, please join me in welcoming and congratulating our discussion board MVP from LEPSL 500, a lieutenant from the Seattle Police Department, Jamison Maehler. Lieutenant, huge congrats and thanks for joining us here.
Thank you, sir. And it's an absolute honor. To your point about the discussion boards, just being involved in those discussion boards and being nominated by some people that I absolutely idolize, and they bring forward really great discussions. It's a true honor, and it's absolutely humbling just to be having this conversation right now. So I'm very lucky and thankful.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to get into it here. I guess let's start at the beginning, if you don't mind, Lieutenant. What attracted you to a career in public service and law enforcement in particular, sir?
That's a great question, right? It's the age-old question. I kind of come from a family of service. I was raised on these ideas of service and selfless service and kind of having fulfillment in your job. My dad was a California High Patrolman. My mom worked for the Placer County Sheriff's Department. My brother served in the military. So we always had these ideas of service in some capacity. And I always wanted to be a law enforcement officer, if I'm being completely honest. My goal was to be Fox Mulder from the X-Files. But when I found out that the FBI did not, in fact, chase aliens, that was a bit of a, I had to change recourse a little bit. But no, in all seriousness, I've always wanted to be law enforcement. I think the profession is so necessary, but such a great profession to be a part of. When 9/11 happened, I was a freshman in high school, and that was a catalyst for me personally to step up and have the opportunity to serve my country, kind of following steps of my brother, who I idolize. And so I had the opportunity to attend the United States Military Academy at West Point. I graduated in 2009, went on to serve 5 years active duty in the Army, and had the opportunity to go to Afghanistan for a 9-month stint. And those opportunities and experiences really helped me grow as a person and kind of solidified the idea of what service really is and how important it is. And after I'd done my 5 years, it was time to move on. I felt like I had done my part for the country, and it was time to move on to law enforcement. And I was at Joint Base Lewis McChord. It was an easy hop, skip, and a jump just to the north to come to the Seattle Police Department. And Seattle tends to have a lot of issues. It's faced a lot of issues, but through those issues, it's really strengthened my conviction in law enforcement. I think it's a great department, and I'm so happy to be a part of it and just continuing to serve.
Wow. Well, first and foremost, huge thank you on behalf of all of us for your service, and how great that the law enforcement profession then benefits from all the skills that you honed during your deployments and during your service. So what a cool origin story. Thanks to you and your family. So you now have this rich military career under your belt. You're a thriving mid-career professional at Seattle PD. what motivated you to go back to school, and how did you learn about the LEPSL program?
Yeah, so it's a great point. I am a firm believer in what got me to this point in my life isn't going to get me to the next point, right? So evaluating ways to improve and things I can do to get better. The next logical step for me was to look at possibly, improving my education and getting to a better level academically. So I started looking at courses and master's programs. And, there was one program that continuously showed up. It's that MS LEPSL program. The accolades, the structure of it, the ability to kind of work with it how I can was awesome. And working with some colleagues, they spoke so highly of the LEPSL program. So it was almost too easy to make the decision to move on to the LEPSL program. And it's been a logical jump, but the right jump, and it's been so necessary. You can see behind me, I'm not necessarily about putting plaques on the wall and say what you've done. I'm more about finding a program that I can apply in the real world. And when I was evaluating other programs, the MS LEPSL program far exceeded any of those other programs as far as applicability, and it was absolutely the greatest choice I've made in a long time.
Wow. Humbled to get that feedback here, Lieutenant. And I will say we benefit from this great team of, we call them instructional designers, or really technology professionals, and they go to the conferences and study best practices for working adults, especially in a demanding career like yours. So they have this formula for how to do it well. The faculty and I just have to put in the good content. So we really benefit from that. We just have to wrestle with the substance, that the structure and the cadence really sets us all up to succeed. But going back a little bit to something you mentioned about Seattle, I think we could argue, at least in some ways, is a microcosm of the country and facing some at least particularly visible versions of some of these social problems. Thinking back to this contemporary issues course and connecting to your theme of applicability, of all the things we studied, let's see, we had Gordon Graham in a couple of times, talked about homelessness and mental health. We talked about, choose my phrasing here, non-traditional prosecutors or prosecutors taking a non-traditional approach to that role. We talked about wellness and mindfulness in policing. Was there any topic that stood out or was maybe more useful than the others, sir?
Yeah, so it's a great point, sir. Seattle really is a microcosm of all these issues, but there were several issues that were obviously immediately applicable. And being a part of Seattle, I was able to get a bit of a glimpse into a lot of these issues. I'm living through most of these issues as a police officer in Seattle, but the things that resonate really with me and really seeped throughout the whole course was Gordon Graham and his line and weight problems and the idea of root cause analysis. It's no mystery that what law enforcement deals with is the failings of institutions within the United States. So coming to this idea that although these problems may be, we can identify root causes and we can try and address these problems before they become a thing, but law enforcement can't do these alone. We need to find better ways to be better partners. We need to sit at that table to help find those solutions. And, Gordon Graham he is the only person, of course, that can take a topic like root cause analysis or problems lying in wait and absolutely make it exciting. He's such a dynamic speaker. And I had the opportunity to see him one time in person. And, he's the only person that can talk for 4 hours without using a slide. And you're absolutely captivated the whole time. So just those points really resonated with me and they seeped through everything, right? It's homelessness, the crisis response, all of these issues aren't necessarily new, but here we are again having the same conversations. And at some point we got to get to the root cause and we got to work with other partners to facilitate some solutions. So that's what really resonated with me within this that course.
Fantastic. As a social scientist, the root cause analysis, obviously near and dear to my heart and training there, sir. Transitioning or pivoting a little bit to the discussion boards in particular, again, I tried to make the argument that they're the heart and soul of LEPSL because it leverages, the insight and experience of folks like yourselves. I did a little 5th grade math to prepare for this discussion. And on average in this course, again, your first course, sir, you posted on average 19 times per week. And just for context for the viewers out there, the requirement is 3. And while it's not uncommon for students to far exceed that, which I think is prima facie evidence of the value of our discussion boards, 19 is pretty remarkable. But it wasn't just the quantity, it was also the quality. I'm going to get back into that in a second. But can you tell us a little bit more just about your experience on the discussion boards and what motivated your vigorous approach?
Yeah, so the assignments, the writing assignments, and the required resources, the media that we watched really solidified the modules individually. But where I got the most value was the discussion boards. Again, back to the point where we're talking about how Seattle's a microcosm. When I started the discussion boards, and I saw that we were actually really dealing with a lot of policing issues across the country. So I got to get out of the echo chamber of Seattle and realize that, hey, it's not just Seattle, it's the policing profession that we really need to evaluate some solutions. And it's funny you bring up the 19. My intent was never to get on the discussion boards and just, message an exorbitant amount of times, but credit to my cohort who were just having tremendous conversations. And my goal was to go on discussion boards in the morning, the afternoon, and the evening time. The Canvas technology makes it so easy to utilize it that way. And I would get on and it was just, I couldn't scroll past a conversation where I was like, oh, I got to ask a question here, or I have to do something there. And, that quickly adds up to 19 posts. But it felt like, I wanted to post 20, 21, 22 times because the conversations were just so enthralling and so interesting, and the people that make up the cohort is also really interesting. So you're learning from a chief all the way down to an officer level, and ranks all the way out through in law enforcement. You're dealing with corrections folks, people in the military of different ranks. These ideas of some great brains really coming together to try and find some solutions. And I just could not get enough of the discussion boards. I thought it was an awesome experience. And I totally agree with you, sir. It really is the heartbeat. That's where I can certainly say I learned a lot and felt like I got closer to the class too, right? You're not just writing a report or paper and then sending it in. You have, interactions and better each other each time. So I thought that was awesome. I totally agree.
Oh, so I love that quote. Great minds coming together. I'll just share a little bit about my experience on the faculty end. I'm trying to be on the discussion boards multiple times a day, just like yourself, and try to get up early on a Saturday morning before my family's awake. And my goal is, I'm going to jump in here 40 minutes, do a few posts, read a few things, and be on my way. And 3 hours go by because I'm so enthralled with the discussion, learning from all this great experience in the room. I have a chief of police from a small town in middle America, and I have an LAPD frontline supervisor, and the way they live these experiences in the same class. So interesting. All right, so we have a new group of LEPSL students starting late May for our summer semester. Especially having just started the program yourself, can you talk a little bit just about your approach and work-life LEPSL balance? I think in every orientation, I assume including yours, probably the chief concern among incoming students is, I'm already in this very demanding and unpredictable profession. I have personal or family commitments. How do you make it all work? And especially, how do you make it all work through the lens of someone who absolutely just came out of the gates with so much success and contributed so much to people around them?
Yeah, I totally agree. I was that nervous individual before things started. Coming from a formal education at West Point, obviously we didn't do anything online, and to move into this online platform, I was incredibly nervous. But the program is set up for success, right? Yourself, the academic director, the founder, you have Alex, the program manager, kind of checking in on you. The professors are there to support you. Just something as simple as setting up this interview. Madison did a great job. It was very streamlined, and just everything is put in place to make sure that you're successful within the program. As far as the work-home life balance, when you start the LEPSL program, there's LEPSL 501, and that's a bit of a crash course into how to use Canvas and what's expected of you. And one of the assignments in there is you identify a schedule, a weekly schedule. And I think that's so important. So law enforcement and the military as well are these two professions that you don't know what you're going to be doing a day from now. But, when you carve out that time of the current day and you have the availability to do that, you can make sure that you're successful. So evaluating that schedule, evaluating, where you can find gaps and things like that is so important. And obviously, I will be the first to say that the reason I've been able to lean full into the program is that my wife has been so helpful, managing a lot of the tasks that, I'm not able to do just because the work-life balance. But with that being said, I think it's really important to not, to lose those. You can't lose the family time, right? So in my opinion, if I'm late on assignment or I'm behind on assignment, then I lose a little bit of sleep. I don't lose the family time. I think that's so important to make sure you have those activities that you can stress relieve, because the job of policing and military is still very stressful. So you still have to make sure you have those activities, but making that schedule, again, that LEPSL 501, the idea that the program is set up for success. So if you follow the steps, you're going to be successful.
That's fantastic. And we have 1,200 graduates who are evidence of your claims there, sir. And I will say one of the things, my role is very similar to yours in how we interact with the LEPSL program. And daughter's a little older now, but I can't tell you how much work I've gotten done with a laptop sitting in my truck outside, picking her up at a dance event or, doing family events, and you have the hurry up and wait scenarios quite a bit. And, I love having that LEPSL textbook in my car, or whatever I can do to take advantage of that time. Well, you got off to such a fast start here in the LEPSL program. I've appreciated this conversation. This is the standard mid-career superstar question. Where do you see yourself 5, 6, 7 years from now? What are your career goals? What's next?
Yeah, well, obviously the first thing is to graduate, right? It's an immediate goal, but that's number one on my bulletin board is to graduate. I think leadership is such a privilege, and to continue in a leadership capacity, wherever it is within my department, is where I want to be. I want to continue to better myself as a leader and then better the department. So whatever the next step is to continue to grow as a leader and take those steps to improve my leadership within the department is so important. And, the last little piece is I've loved the LEPSL program so much that if, in the future I get that opportunity to join the great faculty, that would be, that's on the radar as well. That's on the bulletin board material to keep up in the long term. And that just speaks to how much I believe in the program and, the process. I think it's so important to continue to grow the program, right? So you have the graduates and yourself that have created the program, and it gets better each iteration, and you're molding and shaping, the leaders of law enforcement today, but also the leaders of law enforcement tomorrow. So to be a part of that would also be a tremendous opportunity.
That's awesome. And I absolutely love those two goals. And I'm so glad you mentioned graduation. It's coming up in May. You'll be slotted, I think, 1 May from now, right? So May 2025. My favorite part of my role is getting to meet the families at graduation. Number one, you have to come and see world's most beautiful campus, according to U.S. News and World Reports. But our goal is to serve not only you, the students, sir, but also your families. And so it's so great to meet the spouses and the parent or whoever happens to be able to attend graduation and hear from them how we've, impacted their family's trajectory. And ultimately, that's our goal. So I'm so glad you brought that up. As we kind of wind down at least the formal questions here, Lieutenant, any final thoughts for the LEPSL community, things maybe I left out?
I would just say, for the newer folks that are starting, lean into the program. The way I view it is, especially discussion boards, is when I took the step to join the program, I'm making a commitment to other people to grow as well. So for those new folks that are nervous, you're going to do tremendous. You trust in the process and just lean in and help each other improve every single day. Again, my thank you to Professor Nash, Professor Voss. They've been tremendous. Alex always checking in. The program is set up for such great success, and just to be a part of it, I'm so grateful. So thank you for this opportunity just to talk to you today, sir. Yes,
sir. Thank you. And congratulations again. I really appreciate you shouting out our fantastic team who takes such good care of me, just like they do everybody else. Well, I, strategically left these off till the end, but this is my opportunity to embarrass you a little bit, Lieutenant. When your colleagues cast a vote, they cast a numerical vote, but they also provide a handful of sentences and a rationale. So I just chose 3 that stood out. They weren't the only 3, they just stood out to me. So here's what some of your colleagues had to say about you when they cast their vote. Quote, Jamison consistently was an early poster with great initial input. He was extremely responsive to replies and other posts with thoughtful comments and thought-provoking questions. Another one of your colleagues said, Jamison maintained a strong presence in each of the weekly discussion board forums, formulated thoughtful and meaningful posts and replies, and was supportive of his peers in the class. And lastly, and admittedly my favorite here, sir, not only is Jamison usually, if not always, the first to post on the discussion board, his posts are thoughtful and relevant. He does not post and ghost, which is a new phrase to me, but I'm going to steal that one. But remains constantly engaged throughout the week. His posts do not seem forced, as if he's trying to fulfill the quota or requirements, but rather he shows genuine interest in sharing his own experience while learning from others' experiences. Hands down, Jamison should get the DB MVP. I don't know how many times the word thoughtful was used in those 3 short responses, but that really stood out to me, sir. So on behalf of the entire LEPSL community, the LEPSL program, we appreciate students like you that attack it with such vigor, that are so deliberate, and with that team orientation to make everybody better. So thank you for raising the bar in the LEPSL program, and I get to hand it back here to Maddie to sign us out here.
Awesome. Thank you both so much for your time today. That was an amazing conversation to listen into. And to our viewers, thank you all so much for tuning in, whether you joined us live or you're watching us later on demand. We appreciate you taking your time out of your day to meet our discussion board MVPs, and we will see you all next time. Thank you.